Well, there's not too many things that scare me, but this morning I've got one because I'm on the I'm on live. Let me tell you, with Hanoch Young, and he's already talking about fire and brimstone and a number of other things. So, folks, put your seatbelts on and let's get moving with this thing as we connect with none other than Hanoch Young, live
Well,
and in person from Modi'in, Israel.
Ian, well, thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. We do have a lot to cover today, an enormous amount. If we had to kind of subtitle it, I would say Israel at war, comma, Jews, comma, Hebrew roots. But first of all, we have to, we have a growing base of people who appreciate what we do.
Yeah.
And some of them are our age, which is post-adolescent. But I have a new definition. And some of them are younger. And actually, I have to turn to some of the younger people today because, it's great to share a simcha, a joyous occasion. So here in Israel, we sing Hayom Yom Huledet, Hayom Yom Huledet, which is basically like, da-na-na-na-na-na, you say it's your birthday, do-do-do. Okay. Or, as we born outside of Israel would say, Yom Huledet Samech, a happy birthday to two people, two of our fans, two of our listeners. One of them coming up first is Marky Connor, turning 13 years old. Well, Mazal Tov, Marky, wishing you the very best on a wonderful year. And then a few days later is one of her older sisters. Now, we all are aware that the Connor sisters, there's about 15 or 16. I've lost track. I have no idea how many there are.
You have to answer to the mom here sometime.
Well, but you know what? That day may come, but it's not today. So Sarah Connor, Sarah, turning 16, Mazal Tov. How wonderful it is. Yeah, they've got like 15, 16 sisters, a couple of brothers, one in North Carolina, another brother in Kentucky who no one sees. I believe it's because he's in the witness protection program for the U.S. Marshal Service, but I don't know that for a fact. Okay, so let's move right along from our birthday greetings.
All of those people that were just mentioned, I had nothing to do with this. Absolutely nothing to do with it.
At the beginning of this program, we should state Hanoch, and Hanoch only, is responsible for what's coming out of his mouth. Please do not blame Mike.
Yes.
He has tried to be his brother's keeper, and let's just say the results have been spotty. Okay.
No, let's just say that in being my brother's keeper, I feel like an abject failure.
Okay, moving right along, Israel at war.
Yeah.
There is currently a ceasefire. Reactions to it. More than 50% of Israel, today's going to be a lot of statistics. More than 50% of Israelis have stated in all polls that they think the ceasefire was too soon. Was there American pressure? Oh, you bet, Buckaroo Banzai, big time. Biden, interestingly enough, the one who y'all like to say, he's not my president. Well, he's somebody's president. And guess what? His approach seems to be publicly supporting Israel, and behind closed doors, sticking those knives where they shouldn't be stuck. And you know what? Y'all can't come to Israel right now, but who can? Blinken, I've been thinking, what? Yeah, Blinken's here. And they're opening up the consulate in Jerusalem to serve the Arabs. Yeah, gotta love that. All the people who said, and it's not just Israel supporters in America who said this, but Jews here, nationalist Jews. Well, what Trump is doing will never be rolled back. Y'all should have just said no to drugs. Okay.
When you say they opened the consulate there in Jerusalem to serve the Arabs, explain that statement.
Okay. There are Arabs in Jerusalem. People like to say Eastern Jerusalem, quote unquote. Okay. Who are non-Israeli citizens.
Right.
They were in the land occupied by Jordan until 1967. When Israel liberated it and offered them citizenship, they said, no thanks. So think of it as serving Arabs who align with the so-called Palestinian Authority. This is, remember, in Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the people of Israel. Okay, so let's move right along. The ceasefire, who won? Hamas, of course, is claiming that they won. The Arabs have always claimed they won. 1967, they lost Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, the Golan Heights, the Sinai Peninsula, and Gaza, and quote unquote, they won. What they did win very clearly is in the court of the world opinion.
Yeah.
The entire flippin' world is against Israel. Hamas fires missiles, but Israel started it. It's amazing. And it leads into other things, but I want to touch upon things that you guys may not be picking up in the news. Hundreds of arrests have been made in the last few days as the Israeli police have gotten off the stick and gone back into places like Yaffo and using all the surveillance techniques that we're so darn good at, have arrested people, Jews and Arabs, who participated in the lynchings and the burnings and whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so that's potentially good news. Now, if you're asking me, Hanoch, who do you think won? Well, no one really won. Hamas accomplished what now, for Hamas, there can never be enough dead Gazans to make them happy.
Yeah.
We're already being blamed. Again, they fired over 4,000 missiles. We will go into this more, but I want to touch upon a few things, again, like I said, that you may have missed in the news. We in Israel still do not have a coalition government. Negotiations are ongoing, and you've got to go back to the old let's make a deal, Monty Hall, and you never really know until the show is over who won and who didn't. You've got to see what's behind door numbers 1, 2, and 3 before you can decide who the winner is. Okay, within the next 2 weeks, we in Israel will have a new president. Most of you don't know, Ruby Rivlin, great guy, has been our president. We don't disown our presidents. Ha, 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 ha. Okay, there are 2 candidates. This is a secret ballot vote in the Knesset. We Israelis don't get to vote. There are 2 candidates. One is Yitzhak Herzog, who used to be the head of the Labor Party. Although politically he does not align in the same universe as I do, he is by far the most qualified of the candidates. The second candidate is a woman by the name of Miriam Peretz. She tragically suffered the loss of 2 of her sons in the IDF defending the state of Israel. She has made a life mission since then of teaching people how to cope with loss. Wonderful woman. It's going to be one of the 2 of them. That's all that there is. Okay. I think that Hamas took a beating, not enough because the head of the snake is still there. Yeah. Because never before and again, this dance happens every few years. Never before has Hamas immediately held to a ceasefire. Notice it. Never before. Now, is this going to last? They're already threatening us. Mahmoud Abbas of the PA is saying, well, unless we prevent Jews from walking on the Temple Mount,
Yeah.
you know, and Hamas is threatening, you know, because Israel is demanding that money to rebuild Gaza, which is astounding, not be used by Hamas. And of course, in Hamas saying, well, if there are conditions, but you know, we're also demanding the bodies of our soldiers that they've been holding since 2014. It did prove a few things. Arguably, it's okay. Without a doubt, Israel is one of the finest, has one of the finest air forces in the entire world.
True.
And you cannot win a war from the air. America tried, Israel's tried, you can't do it. We will not put boots on the ground in Gaza because we're not willing to lose 500 to 1,000 plus men. Plus, look the way the world reacted.
Oh, yeah.
Look the way the world reacted when we took down the building that AP, Al Jazeera, but most importantly, Hamas was using, an empty building. And we called in advance and said, y'all got to get out of the building. But let's move on to a bigger story.
Well, yeah, let me stop you right
Okay.
there for a moment. This building was just,
Sure.
it was crazy that nobody said, you know, when's the last time that that Hamas called to, you know, made a phone call to Ashdod and said, hey, we're about to lob, you know, 10 rockets at you. Everybody should go into their bomb shelter. That doesn't happen. Here's the problem with Israel going in with ground forces, to me, is that you will find a bunch of Palestinian so-called military fighters, whatever, because they're really not much of a military, but you will find them with their wives and children standing in front of them. You know, they will literally be putting their AK over the shoulder of their child in order to fire at an IDF soldier. And if somehow that child gets killed, it's of course the fault of the IDF soldier. It's a no-win. You can't win this thing.
Right.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay. No. Okay. Jews throughout the entire world have been brutally attacked. Now, what's interesting is New York, Los Angeles, other cities in America, London, brutally beaten in the streets. Now, I could tell you back in the day, in my day, groups of Jews would have gone into the streets and battled with them. Now, one of the things, you know, as a tour guide, particularly when I began guiding Europeans on a day trip, Europeans who were here for only 3 or 4 days, Europeans who came because of Eurovision, for instance, back in 2019, I have learned again, these are people for whom English is a second or third language. I've gotten really good at explaining complex geopolitical religious concepts in sound bites. I'm really, you know, no false modesty here. I've gotten good at it. But I struggle with our supporters, particularly in the Hebrew roots world, and I don't understand what they don't understand. People have had the audacity to post on my timeline that Jews being beaten is the fault of liberal Jews who elected Biden. Now, again, there are a couple of things here. First of all, blame the victim. Jews are being beaten. They're being singled out as Jews. They don't even know if these Jews are supporters of Israel or not. It doesn't matter. They're Jews. And it's the fault of liberal Jews who, quote unquote, elected Biden. Now, I gotta touch upon that. That is part of your classic Christian Jews are dominating the world conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good thing it's on Facebook, because if it was in front of me when I speak in your congregations, I will slap you silly right there in front of everybody. My training now, you know, with everything that I've done with Pure, with getting lean and getting healthy and all that wonderful stuff, my goal now with training is to be hard to kill. That's what it's all about. I will beat the daylights out of you for saying that stuff to me. And I have to tell you, and you see it, I keep posting on Facebook, stop telling me you're crazy. Someone writes, you know, sending love to you and the others occupying the land. I wrote back, we Jews, we Jewish Israelis are citizens of Israel. We're not occupying the, words matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but okay, I need to make this very personal. I have explained about the American Jewish community repeatedly. And I keep being asked, why are Jews liberal? And I have to illustrate it with a personal example. My daughters have a cousin, not my side of the family. They have a cousin who recently on Instagram posted that she's collecting funds for medical aid relief in Gaza. Now, anyone with an IQ above 11 knows that funds that go to Gaza go to Hamas.
Yeah.
The pipes that are supposed to be used for plumbing are used for the bodies of missiles. The electronics and the explosives are smuggled in. Okay. So my daughter Kira wrote this cousin of hers, a very eloquent, Kira's, you know, my daughters are me 2.0. They're so much better. Very patiently explaining the situation. It doesn't matter. When Americans who happen to be Jewish, underscore in italics and bold and quotes, who are 3 to 4 plus generations away from any commitment to anything Jewish, stop expecting them to have Jewish values.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There is no reason that they will have anything Jewish in their life. Why do you expect them to know the Torah? Why do you expect, I mean, it's stuff. Okay, so then
this would be like expecting Bernie Sanders to say, you know, I can't show up at Congress at the whatever he's part of, Senate or Congress, whatever. I can't show up on Saturday because it's my Shabbat, and I need to spend that time. Yeah, I doubt that.
It's what it is the same naive Christian view that people in the Hebrew roots world have. And that's why they come and they say to me that they expected at Ben Gurion to be given a pair of sandals, a toga, and a walking stick so they can walk in the footsteps of Jesus. That's why people say to me, well, you mean that Israel will go back to being an agrarian society? Are you guys high? I mean, where is this coming from? But you know what? Before we, and if you really want to know about where American Jews are at, because you don't believe me, the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, written by an American Jew, explaining that they do not support Israel. Israel's not their thing. Now, I know there are people listening to this who are going to say, Rolling Stone magazine. Well, I have to remember, in the Hebrew roots world, y'all never listened to rock and roll. Y'all were listening to either Christian rock or country and Western. My woman done left me, she poured my whiskey on my feet, that kind of stuff. Yeah, okay. Hit me, but don't fool me. Okay, so I have in front of me a fascinating study on young Christian evangelicals, 29 to 38. Christian evangelicals were Israel's greatest supporter. In fact, our recent ambassador to America, Ron Dermer, has been widely criticized for saying Israel should focus on Christian evangelicals because American Jews are history. Yeah, he done said it. Well, guess what? 3 years ago, young Christian evangelical support of Israel was at 75%. They just took that survey again, and it's 33.6% in support of Israel. But you
Wow.
want to know a better statistic? 46% of Christian evangelicals, again, age 29 to 38, 46% voted for Joe Biden. So for those with the IQ of a tadpole who post on my wall, well, in all the states that went for Biden, it was the Jews. There are more, quote unquote, Palestinian Arab Americans than there are Jews. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Why is that significant about Christian evangelicals? Because when you keep quoting, Mike, and you know, shame on you for quoting the prophets of Israel. What were you thinking, man? When the world turns against Israel, it doesn't just mean countries, boys and girls. That's right. They're all now. What is the other significance of evangelicals turning against Israel? Christian evangelicals, in my humble opinion, have done a much better job of educating their children in their faith commitment than people in the so-called Hebrew roots world. Now, Mike, you were the closest to the youth movement. And you know what? You're amazing, but you ain't no magician. You can't lead someone where they don't want to go. And it is an incredibly astounding scene. And one of the things that I wanted to lose my head over, okay, you and I have intentionally avoided discussing COVID for reasons that to us are obvious. But I posted an update the other day on Facebook, which is very encouraging, that the Green Pass, which, by the way, y'all were losing, your lunch over, which all it did was enable people who already recovered from COVID or were vaccinated to go to a gym and to eat lunch inside a restaurant. Now, remember, we don't have the climate that you all have in Michigan. It's gorgeous out here. So eating outside is no big deal. As of June 1st, that disappears. We've already dropped the mask requirements outdoors. And as of last night, I read an article where our senior epidemiologists, now they're real epidemiologists, not the ones who play that on Facebook, real epidemiologists who are talking about, by the end of June, ending all mask requirements in America. Excuse me, wishful thinking, in Israel. Sorry, you can delete that remark because that was clearly a Freudian slip. Now, I keep saying, people say, oh, I'll never be able to go back to Israel again. Like, give us time.
Yeah.
We are the first country in the world approaching the alleged herd immunity. Y'all may not like how we got there, but you know what? It ain't your business. It ain't your business how we did it. We did it. We're doing it. Okay. But people want to write about their crazy theories. They want to write about New World Order, New Kids on the Block. I mean, you name it. QAnon. And I said, and here we lead into another topic. I said it's astounding more than 4,000 rockets were fired to kill Jews.
Mhm.
Jews are being savagely attacked throughout the world. And by the way, remember I mentioned earlier, in my day, we would have taken to the streets and broken heads? How are Jews reacting? They're taking off their kippot,
Mhm.
they're taking down their mezuzot, and they're not going publicly to kosher restaurants. I've gotten a couple of emails asking me, will this increase the percentage of Jews going on Aliyah? And this is where I come back to that famous quote: just say no to drugs. Think of that fried egg in the skillet. This is your brain on drugs. This is your belief that Jews, you don't get it. People don't get it. These Jews are Americans, they're Brits, they're whoever, who happen to be Jewish. They could have gone on Aliyah. And these are people who have assets and have family money, not like me, who are one of the few poor Jews. I'm the only Jew who made Aliyah from America, who raised his standard of living. That's right. So do you know what I say to people? 4,000 rockets, Jews being beaten. And I've noticed you couldn't share a single post that I put up about it. Not a word. Plenty of our friends, Mike, I noticed. So you know what? Don't post anything, with your righteous indignation that in your state, Governor Puffin's stuff is making you wear a mask when you go to Lowe's and Home Depot. And you sound, righteous indignation like Patrick Henry. Give me liberty or give me death. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. And I don't want to hear your protestations. Well, Biden isn't my president. I don't care. I really don't care. This is a sorting out. And you've all been found terribly wanting. Stop saying that you're part of Israel, because y'all ain't. You ain't. Show enough.
Okay. Well,
You see, I did that without one single breath. I've gotten better.
I think you've been locked up for a little while.
Way too long.
Yeah,
Way too long, Mike.
The whole thing of COVID and everything, and the conspiracies, and okay, we all have our own opinions. So what? But I need to, we all need to be in posting things that we do. You'd be cautious of respecting other people's opinions of things.
You would think.
And also about just lumping everybody into, it's like this thing of, the Jews elected Biden. That's just lumping a whole group of people into a box that you created. That's never going to solve any problems. Here's the problem. Now, I was interviewed yesterday on Hebrew Nation Radio. Here's the problem. Looking past all of it, it has been almost 2 years since I breathed the air of Israel. Post whatever you want. That's not going to change the fact that the air in my lungs is longing for the air. The space in my lungs is longing for the air of Israel.
I know.
That's it. I mean, that's where, we can disagree about, about all these other things, but all this is about a sorting out. It's about the kingdom approaching, I believe. And it's about as I said to someone yesterday on Hebrew Nation, they talked about the chaos of the world. I said, the Almighty is very good at a number of things. One of them is bringing order out of chaos.
Yeah.
In fact, what looks like chaos to you and I is order to him. So let's not focus as much on the chaos as we should focus on the order that he is bringing out of it.
And you know what? It's great that people have posted, I stand with Israel. And they're standing so far behind us that you can't see it. if you're standing with Israel and on a monthly basis, you're not supporting an organization in Israel. I'm not talking about me. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about like Friends of Itamar, IDF Widows and Orphans, Mayor Panim, which runs soup kitchens. I mean, all kind. And I'm going to be posting every week, a little featurette on different organizations. If you're not doing that, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
You know what? I will release you from your vow. But you know what? You got to stop claiming to be part of Israel, because y'all ain't. And, I've wondered why it is that my long-suffering Ephraimite two-house book has never gotten finished. And it's starting to creep into my little follically challenged head that maybe most of the peeps I've been dealing with are the wrong groups of people.
I think you're right,
I don't know.
in that, you talk about a lot of people that, you're saying, y'all ain't. That's probably not the people that are actually listening to us.
No, they're definitely not.
Yeah,
They're definitely not.
We are seeing a new group of people that are coming forth today. Youth, I'm seeing some changes there. It's time for that next wave, and I think we're seeing that wave. And the thing about a wave is the hardest thing for an incoming wave to overcome is the outgoing, what was the last wave.
Absolutely true.
Where we're at is kind of that, we're talking about both at the same time. So I want to give people some hope in all this. Take what you're hearing from Hanoch, understand where he's at in everything, and just examine your own self. Look back at your own posts. See, am I really standing for Israel? What am I liking? What am I following? Am I getting so wrapped up in the conspiracies that I'm really losing focus on where I should be?
If you, in the last 12 months, if you can post an infinite number of posts about fearless Fauci, I mean, we have to come up with some nickname for this clown, or something else. But again, everyone has their own Governor Puffin stuff, who is this, or Nancy Pelosi. But Jews are in danger, and don't say that you don't have enough information, because just share it from my timeline. And you know what's really sad? When on Monday, today's Wednesday, but on Monday, I'm still I get very few notes asking, are you still alive? But one of the notes said, are you still running for cover? This is Monday late afternoon, my time. So I said, are you not aware that since Friday morning, there's been a ceasefire? No, I didn't know that. You love Israel, you pray for Israel, but you have no idea what's actually happening. I mean,
there's something, Hanoch, I don't understand. We're out of time here, but there's something I don't understand.
Okay.
One of the first things that I do in the morning is I check 2 websites, sometimes 3. Arut Sheva, Israel National News, Jerusalem Post, and sometimes Times of Israel.
Yeah.
I check, do just a brief. I mean, it takes me 10, 15 seconds just to check the basics of what's going on.
Okay, here's a book y'all have to buy. They Must Go by Rabbi Meir Kahana. Go to abebooks.com. You can also get it on Amazon, but it's cheaper on abebooks.com. This is your homework assignment. Order this book and read it now.
There you go. All right.
Bless your hearts.
Okay, well, for the 3 listeners we have left, it is, we sure do appreciate you guys and hanging in there with us. these are, you don't get this kind of news and update. And the only bad word that Hanoch said the whole time was Pelosi. So I'm really proud of you, bro.
I also said Fauci,
Oh,
so
that's,
pardon me.
I don't,
But again, happy birthday to Marky Connor, Sarah Connor of the infamous Connor clan. And yeah, there'll be a beating for that, but sometimes it's worth it, Mike. Anyway,
yeah, as long as I'm
best
not
regards to
involved.
everybody.
Okay. Take care, man.
Shalom, y'all. Bye-bye.